So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Andrew Herweg. We'll be starting in about 1 or 2 more minutes. We're just waiting for a few more people to file in. Thank you. All right, very good. So everyone, good afternoon. Once again, my name is Andrew Herweg, and I just want to formally welcome you to today's webinar. So today's webinar is focused on our accelerator programs beneficial for African startups. As we all know, for you being early stage entrepreneurs or part of the ecosystem, there are hundreds of early stage incubators, accelerator programs out there that are offering a wide range of support, from cash to grants to expert capital and well as access to other services. But are they actually worthwhile for you? And that's what we're going to try and help you answer over the next 60 minutes. So we've got a fantastic group of panelists that will join us today. But just to let you know, we do have one change in today's program. Unfortunately, Nermina, the Chief Investment Officer from TechBridge Invest, will no longer be able to join us today. Unfortunately, she came down with a last-minute illness, which is sad, but we hope that she has a quick recovery. More about me. So my name is Andrew Herweg, and I'll be your moderator for today's program. I'm a co-founder and managing partner at Stepchange Africa. So before we get into today's program, we're just going to have a few quick words from our sponsors, which are Stepchange Africa, an organization that I'm proud to be part of, as well as Bridges for Enterprise. So without further ado, I just want to hand over to my colleague, Jordan, at Bridges for Enterprise. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew, and welcome everyone to this webinar. I'm really excited for the next 60 minutes. Just before we get started, some ground rules for today. We are recording this webinar and it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel following this event. So if you happen to miss anything or you want to share it with anyone you know, please definitely check out that link following this. As well, please stay on mute if you're not speaking. We will have an opportunity to have you ask questions later on in the event towards the end. Also invite you to share your experience on social media, so you can tag both of our accounts at BfE Global or at Stepchange Africa. And then following the event, we will ask for your feedback. So we really look forward to receiving that and trying to tailor our future webinars so that we can better support different entrepreneurs throughout the ecosystem. Great. So very, very quickly, I just wanted to introduce Bridges for Enterprise, the co-sponsor for today's webinar. Bridges for Enterprise is a nonprofit founded in 2015, and I myself am the global president of the organization. We support early stage social enterprises across the emerging markets, specifically with a 6 to 8 month incubation program. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see a bit more about our model. We run a program that is holistic in nature. So we support entrepreneurs by providing a free consulting and finance advisory engagement. So each engagement is 3 to 4 months in length, and they are designed to support entrepreneurs to kind of get to that next phase of their business growth and allow them to create even greater impact in their local communities. We also offer optional legal and technical advisory engagements upon request, and the entire program is delivered by volunteers, students, and professional mentors around the world. It's a great opportunity for businesses to get additional support on their journey as they hope to scale their impact. So this is a quick look at our global footprint since inception. You'll see we have 5 student-run chapters around the world. Each chapter consists of between 30 and 50 students, and they are supported by professional mentors with the guidance and expertise across different sectors and industries to help support your business. And we've worked with over 100 social impact startups since 2015, including over 70% of them coming from Africa, across 31 different countries. And our total organization is made up of over 300 people. So next slide. This is just a quick case study. Interestingly, we have Yussouf on the call today from Bag Innovation. So happy to present this case study. He can talk more about Bag later on in the webinar. But yeah, we did support them earlier, a couple years back, and they are one of a number of success stories in terms of like our incubation program and the offering that we provided for them. They work with our new chapter, and they provided a range of different services to support Bag on its growth journey. And then moving on, I think this is the last slide for us. Just want to mention that we have 2 upcoming deadlines. So we have 2 cohorts of startups that we accept per year. It's a rolling application process, but we encourage you to apply by these dates: April 1st for the autumn cohort, and then October 1st for the spring cohort. If you apply by those dates, you'll be eligible for acceptance into those different stages. And all the information about our application can be found on our website, bridgesforenterprise.com. So if you have any questions, feel free to check that out, and email us if you have any additional queries. So thanks so much, and hope you enjoyed today's webinar.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jordan. And now just quickly more about Stepchange Africa. So myself, I'm a sort of former entrepreneur turned sort of advisor, investor, and consultant. In September of 2020, myself and 4 other colleagues came together to launch Stepchange Africa, which works with seed to Series A startups that are operating, investing, and expanding across Africa. We also do work with social enterprises and SMEs as well. And as an organization, we offer 3 particular services, ranging from implementation to fundraising support, and finally a virtual C-suite. In terms of providing a brief overview of our services, in terms of the implementation, this is where a team members insert themselves within a core piece of your team, and we go in there and fix blind spots and troubleshoot challenges and help you to get solutions faster. In terms of virtual C-suite, this is more a high-level strategic role. We know as you're a young business, you do not have a fully built-out C-suite. So this is where a member of the founding team or one of our colleagues joins and really provides you with the strategic direction or to organically grow your business and build it on a pathway to profitability and sustainability. And then last but not least, we know that for startups, everyone needs fundraising. Capital injection is needed at some point, whether you're looking to accrue assets or you're looking to expand across different geographies. So in terms of the fundraising support, we engage with you during the whole entire fundraising journey, from getting your data room in order to finally closing the transaction itself. In terms of the team, we've got quite a dynamic team. Combined, we have over 60+ years of experience of building, managing, and advising the who's of companies, from Cape Town to Kenya, from Dubai all the way to the United States. We're quite dynamic, and we're based across several different geographies. So that really allows us to tap into a wide range of networks, from international expertise to international funding networks. And we like to think that gives us a bit of a strategic advantage. Also, most of us, we are current or former entrepreneurs, so we've been in your shoes before. We know how difficult it is to build a business, and we like to think that gives us a bit of a unique advantage. So I'm just going to leave it there. If you're curious to learn more, don't hesitate to visit our website. The email address is on the screen in front of you. or feel free to email us at info@stepchangeafrica.com. So now let's jump into the heart of today's program. So we have three fantastic speakers today that we're going to cover sort of the acceleration ecosystem from a wide range of viewpoints, from the entrepreneurial support organization, from the social enterprise ecosystem, to the founder itself, to looking at it from an investment side, because there's so many things you can do and leveraging the right program to take your business to the next level. So the first speaker I'm going to bring in is Brian. So Brian is the Chief Executive Officer of Einstein Rising. It's a social enterprise builder operating in East Africa. In addition to Einstein Rising, Brian is also the portfolio manager for East Africa for Ondernemers voor Ondernemers, which in English is Entrepreneurs for Entrepreneurs, which supports early stage businesses which align with the Sustainable Development Goals and provides them with debt capital as well as expert capital. And he's going to jump into the topic of helping you find the right acceleration program. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Brian. And Brian, take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Just like Andrew has said, I am Brian from Einstein Rising and OVO, and I am glad to be here, glad to share a bit of what I know as also an experienced entrepreneur and now playing a role of supporting entrepreneurs. I hope that my presentation will be of value to some of you out there. So let me jump right in. Some of the world's biggest and emerging names in tech went through accelerator programs. I'm sure you're familiar with names like Dropbox, Airbnb, and others. We all know if you secure a spot on the right program, the benefits for startups can be invaluable. Business advice and mentorship from startup experts, introductions to customers and investors, and the camaraderie of being in the same room with other founders is invaluable down the road. So, but then it's not that easy to find the right program that fits your needs as an entrepreneur. The number of accelerators in Africa has exploded over the past few years, and they all have various offerings and very variable success rates. So I just came up with 6 critical factors that you should consider while you're trying to find the right accelerator. The first factor being stage fit. You need to look for an accelerator that is aligned with your startup's current stage. For example, Einstein Rising specializes in helping aspiring and early stage founders in the early venture stage. This is the stage where founders are focused on gathering the proof and making enough traction to prove that their startup is capable of scaling. So what we do is we help founders validate their problem and solution, build and test their minimum viable product with early customers, and then demonstrate product market fit. This can be a strong value proposition for early stage founders in particular. But other accelerators that specialize in Series A stage companies might focus on founders with a working product in the market. Not only that, but they have to have proven return on investment and early evidence that scale is possible. If you're in the growth stage, you might look for an accelerator to help you iterate on what's working and put processes into place to scale even faster. Getting stage fit right will ensure your startup gets the maximum value and impact out of the accelerator that you choose. Next, I will talk about tech capabilities. The best way to get a product or service to market fastest is to have a clear vision and direction from the founder, because as the founder, you're the vision bearer. A product manager who understands the product that you're trying to push and how to effectively shape the product roadmap. So having great engineers and deploying the right solution with a team that is ready to hustle and validate and get you feedback from customers is technically what you need the most to ensure success of your startup. But not every founder has all these factors in place. These resources and this expertise is hard to find. So understanding the amount of technical support you need as a founder is critical while choosing accelerators. For example, at Einstein Rising, we don't offer any technical support, though we can connect entrepreneurs who come to us to experts in the field that they're in. But there are accelerators out there which specifically provide the technical support. I believe organizations like Stepchange are also in that space. Bridges for Enterprise also offers a lot of tech support. And that is why the ones who need that the most, the ones who see that as the vital piece that is missing from their startup, need to reach out to such programs in order to move up faster and scale much faster. Then I'll talk about industry fit. There are particular businesses that are focusing on providing a solution to a particular industry. For example, the businesses that are dealing with agricultural products. There are particular accelerator programs that are designed for things like agriculture, energy, education, health, that are so sector specific that you benefit so much from not only the trainings, because you'll get experts training you, you benefit from the networks that you get access to through these accelerator programs. And that will prove to be invaluable in ensuring the success of your startup. Then I'll talk about the curriculum as number 4. You need to ask yourself at the beginning, when you're starting a business, what professional skills do you need to develop? Because all of us come from different walks of life, but all of us are trying to set up businesses that will be sustainable in the long run, will be sustainable and profitable in the long run. So as founders, we often play a role of CEO, then head of sales, travel agent, help desk, customer care, everything in the beginning. But with time, you need to identify what you can do and what you need to let other people do. As you're building the team, you need to then focus on the skills that you're lacking as a leader. So as you're trying to find the right accelerator program, you need to find out what they have to offer, whether it matches with what you're actually lacking as the vision bearer of this enterprise that you have started. Then I'll talk about time commitment. Time is your most precious resource. To get a clear understanding of an accelerator's time commitment is vital as you're selecting which accelerator to belong to. They say that starting a business, running a business is more difficult than raising a child. I tend to agree, since I have experienced both, and I much prefer having another child rather than starting another business at this point. Running a business is a full-time job, and most accelerators will demand that you give your full time to the program that you have signed up for. So choose, and it should cut both ways. It shouldn't be that the program is demanding all your time, and yet the program is not giving you the same amount of time in return. So while you're looking for the right fit, the right program that fits your needs, you need to especially ask people who have gone through the program about how much time you need to commit to it, how much time will be demanded from you, but then how much time the mentors, the facilitators, the coaches will give you in return towards growing your business. Because there are a lot of accelerators that will probably you'll only interact with your coaches online, 1 hour sessions a week. And yeah, at the end of the day, they expect that you will be able to execute whatever they have taught you in an effective manner. So in order to avoid such situations, it is better that you get familiar with the time commitment that is required from the accelerator. Lastly, but most importantly, is the ongoing support after you're done with the initial stage of acceleration. Because there's so many programs in Africa, I believe around the world, that do the simple bit of providing training, because that is the easier bit. You can provide training over a course of 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks for some programs. And after providing the training, you as an entrepreneur, you have to go out there and make this work. That is the most difficult part. And if you don't have the mentors that have given you the training there to support you as you're implementing all these things that you've learned in the field, then the acceleration process may prove to be as good as nothing at all. So it is important that you find out from people who have been through the program whether they have kept on receiving support even after they finish the training. It is important that the organization that you're going to entrust this baby to have a track record of providing so much more than just theoretical training. They have a track record of actually caring about their alumni and following them up, and providing them with links to markets, providing them with links to potential partners, links to investors, providing them with advice whenever they hit a bump in the road, and so much more. Even just providing a listening ear to entrepreneurs, I find helps a lot, because there are entrepreneurs who have been through our programs who just call us up just to share with us how far they've gone, the challenges they're facing, not looking for money in return or not looking for anything special, but just the encouragement of knowing that they're not alone in this journey. So my final thoughts on it. Startup accelerators are built on years of experience, helping founders grow their businesses, and they can be an amazing opportunity for founders to seriously accelerate growth. But it is critical to do your research before signing on the dotted line. The connections you make during your time with an accelerator and after you graduated will play a pivotal role in your entrepreneurship journey. So take your time and choose wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for that. A lot of food for thought that you brought up there. And there's just a few comments there. I love how you focused on the curriculum side of things. I can tell you from my experience, part of previous accelerator programs, running them, is I've never had really many people ask about sort of what's the type of content that you're actually going to come across. What is the full curriculum? And I think that's really important, because it's one of the things as us from the entrepreneurial support side, we build out the curriculum, but it's very rarely that a company will ask at the beginning, well, can you tell me through what I'm learning the whole entire 12 months? They usually just ask about the milestones, like get X to mentorship partnerships. So that's a really good question to ask for those in the audience. A few other things that came to mind, you point out, is the time commitment. There's a lot of programs that really take your time up where you actually can't focus on the business itself. There are certain programs out there that take you out of the country for 2 or 3 months. And how can you do your business if you're in Scandinavia, but your business is actually in Kenya, Rwanda, for that example? So you have to know what's that time commitment, because it's supposed to be helping you build your business, not taking away time from the business as well. And then last but not least, before I finish my ramble and hand it on to our next brilliant panelist, is a lot of accelerator programs, they do lack that technical expertise. And it's one of the things they do bring on groups such as Stepchange Africa and other individual consultants. So you want to see if they lack the technical expertise, what are the partners they're working with that can fill the gaps? Because as a lot of you know, it seems like everyone's a consultant out there, but very few actually have a successful track record, can really back that up. So what I'm just getting at, if you could take it from the audience, is ask those critical questions, push the entrepreneurial support organizations. They get answers to help you to make an educated decision. Just don't sign up for it because you may be getting a grant, because you may be able to get some access to a partnership that may or may not come off.
Yeah.
Right. Next, we're going to move it on to our speaker, Yussouf. So Yussouf is a Rwandan entrepreneur who's passionate about education and technology. He's the CEO and co-founder of BAG, which is one of Rwanda's fastest growing edtech startups. BAG is a digital platform that provides a wide range of job-related tasks and trains students to be the #1 pick for employers. And Yussouf is going to take us through how to actually maximize benefit from a program when you're actually in it. So Yussouf, now over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Great. So hi, everyone. My name is Yussouf, and based here in Rwanda, working with a startup called Bag Innovation. And thanks, Andrew, for the description. We're basically working with students here in Rwanda to complement the theoretical learning from the classroom with what the market is looking for and placing them into meaningful job opportunities. So I'm going to be talking about how to maximize your time, the benefits from a startup accelerator while the startup is still in it. We've had the opportunity over the last, because now this year we're going to be closing in on 5 years as a startup. So we've had the opportunity to go through accelerator programs and different boot camps to grow our company. And I'm just going to be sharing a little bit about I love how Brian talked about, what you should think about before you join an accelerator program. So I'm going to be talking about, now that you're in it, how do you actually make the most out of it? So one of the first ones is get ready for an intense learning experience. Again, depending on which accelerator program or incubator you're part of, and looking at the curriculum that you're going to be going through. Some accelerator programs require that the startups are actually there on a day-to-day basis. Most of the time we see that happen, especially for idea stage kind of like companies, because they want you to be there every day. So you can get some time to work on your idea so you don't get distracted if you're not there. So an intense learning experience is definitely something to be expected, because I think Andrew has been working in this space for quite some time, so he knows how much work goes into building this curriculum. And if you want people to actually get the most out of it, then you have to give them sort of like homeworks and different tasks that they have to work on before the next session. So that becomes very intense, because now it's not just something that you go and then you attend and that's it, but you have something that you have to work on, or let's say a business model canvas that you have to fill out. It might be your first time seeing that kind of framework. So you have to learn how to do that and come back with your completed work. So it's something to definitely be aware of. But the good thing is that, again, depending on which accelerator you're part of, you're definitely going to get a lot of learning from it. So that is number one on what to expect or how to maximize the benefits when you are in an accelerator program. And the second one is start building up your startups network. I'm a very strong advocate that when you are at the early stage or in the early days of your startup, what you have to really focus on is really building up your network as a startup, because by really talking to a lot of people about your idea or what you're trying to do, then you are speaking to people who are going to potentially be your customers, are going to potentially be your partners or investors or even team members. And it's very, very important that you see that as a strategic thing to invest your time in. And being part of an accelerator actually provides you with that opportunity. So now you are part of this network of, let's say, 10, 15 other like-minded individuals. And this is time to make friends, people who potentially you're going to be working with in the future, but also the different mentors who come to deliver different sessions. It's an opportunity for you to actually meet them, because otherwise, if one of the sessions they're inviting the head of a huge organization, if you wanted to get a meeting with that person, normally what you would do is you would find them on social media, and you would try to write them a cold email to try and get a meeting, which might take a very long time. But now you're part of an accelerator where they're actually bringing this person to where the sessions are happening, and this is an opportunity for you to be able to network with that person and actually see how you can build that connection. So the first few tips is definitely learning experience. It's very good because there's a lot of tools that are involved. There are a lot of tools that are being introduced in the learning sessions, but also you get to build that network with the members, with the let's say the people facilitating the learning, but also the different mentors and speakers who come through the different sessions. Yes, perfect. Yes, another tip is how do you create the most out of your demo day, or how do you make the most out of your demo day? So most of the accelerator programs, the last day is what they call a demo day, where they're going to give you an opportunity to pitch your company to either potential investors or to the whole community that is going to be listening in. And the good thing about demo days is that this is actually your opportunity to land either that investment or that client. So it's very important to see this day as one of the biggest days of your journey in the accelerator program, and make sure that you're really well prepared for it, because most of the time, I think, at least to some of them that I've been part of, it's for example, I'm not going to call it an accelerator, but it's kind of a bit of a boot camp program that I was part of a few months ago for about 2 weeks here in Rwanda. Basically went through a 2 weeks intensive learning experience, trying to dissect every single part of our business. And the last day where we had to pitch, it was actually pitching one of the biggest stadiums here in Rwanda, and the president of the country was there, and every single minister in the country was there listening in to our ideas, right? And once you know that these head of like the governments are going to be sitting there listening to your idea, these are people that you need them to open doors for you. You need their approval to get to certain customers that you want to get to. So you better be prepared, right? Because if you mess up this presentation, I don't think you get that opportunity a lot of times in your life. So you better be prepared. So similar to accelerator programs as well, they do the most to actually help that the demo days, the day where you are going to actually demonstrate your business to a big crowd. So depending on the one that you're in, they might invite a number of investors, they might invite a number of institutions to come and listen in. And it's very important to be prepared for that day. Make sure that your pitch is ready, make sure that your deck is good, your presentation is flawless. Getting the most of your mentor. Again, matchmaking is something that I see happen a lot in a lot of accelerators, where they try to match you, the startup, with a specific individual who has experience in the sector, probably has built a similar business, or is just really passionate about the sector and has a lot of skills that you in the sector that your business is in. And it's very important that when you meet this person, that you try as much as possible to really learn from them. For example, if they're an entrepreneur who has exited a business, it's to really understand what does it take to actually build a business and scale it to the point where I can actually exit. If it's a person who has the technical expertise in that field, Brian was talking about if you're a tech founder, a non-tech founder. So imagine if you're a non-tech founder and you're matched with a mentor who's actually a tech expert. Let's say this is your opportunity to actually learn, how do I, what are some of the things that you can actually teach me about the technical side of things, so I can grow my business. So keeping in touch with your mentor, and not only in the program, but also even after. So you can grab coffee, grab dinner after that, and just continue that relationship, because maybe you wouldn't not have met that person in another situation, but now because you're being part of this accelerator, you met this person and they know your business and they want to support you, and it's important to take advantage of that. Great. Yes, communicating proactively with your startups community. Again, this is, for example, for first-time founders, you're a young entrepreneur trying to build something. You are now part of this ecosystem where you can actually, benefit from, or you get this exposure to quite a big community of entrepreneurs and interested in the same space. It's very important to use this as a way for you to start communicating a lot about your business. For example, if you are part of an accelerator program, now you already have a kind of like a dashboard where you can say, hey guys, we're hiring for interns. Hey guys, I'm looking for people who can join my team. And now you have people who can actually help you, who can listen to you, who are in the ecosystem, and it's going to be much easier for you to get the message across, but also just really networking and getting advice from different people. Not just the mentor who has been assigned to you, but also different people who are part of the community, to just pitch your idea and get some different opinions and perspective on what you're trying to build. Taking a break when needed. Sometimes some of them might be very overwhelming when it comes to the amount of work that you have to do, the amount of prep that you have to do for the demo day, and all these different things. But really make sure, sometimes in the curriculums, it's actually in there where they try to incorporate some fun activities that you can do with some of your peers. And it's good to always think about that. Let me take a break, right? I think this is a general advice when you're just building your company. It's always remember to take a break, so you can get a fresh perspective on everything that you're trying to do. Great. So from my experience as a startup founder, the most enjoyable part of an acceleration program was the learning and also meeting some of the amazing people, building a network that has helped me to in multiple occasions, and had my startup featured in different media outlets. So these are some of the things that I've learned, and I've seen that could actually be quite beneficial if you get into the accelerator program with the right intentions. So you can learn a lot on different aspects that you did not know, depending on what the curriculum has to offer. You can meet amazing people who can potentially be your funders, who can be your advisors, or even team members. But also you can build a huge network and get a lot of publicity, so that a lot more people can know about what you do and potentially buy your services. Great, that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you for that, Yussouf. A lot of great stuff you shared, and there's just a few things that just sort of really stood out for me is like take a break. I think particularly looking at the mental health side of things, too many people are running themselves in the ground too early on. As we talk about, this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. So that's great that you pointed that out. Something else that you just shared on this last slide here is also participating in these accelerator programs. It's also a great marketing opportunity as well for you to publicize it about. And not too many companies that I've noticed really promote their participation in the program. They just they do it, but they don't sort of scream out and shout out about it. I think that's really important for them, is to signal to the ecosystem, signal to investors, like we're actually proactive, we're doing stuff. And I think that's important. A few other things is the demo day. As you point out, it's very common in a lot of these programs, there is a demo day. And I think it's really important also to ask who's going to be in the audience. A lot of people just say, well, there's going to be investors. Well, how many investors are going to be there? What are their ticket sizes? Where are they based? So you can actually really tailor yourself even better for the demo day program. And then two other things is the mentorship. 100% agree with you. Try to take as much information as possible from your mentors and also continue on that relationship afterwards. What I've always found for myself being a mentor, I mentor quite often through the Seed Stars network, is the ones that actually have something to specifically ask to the mentor. It makes the relationship so much easier. As a mentor is coming here to offer everything. If you can be direct to the point with your mentor, that's great. And also something else to think about is not just sort of leveraging your mentor for all you can get from them, but also going to the other mentors in the network, because there's probably somebody else that can provide really value to you. So also ask for that experience too. And then from the networking side, as you said, those speakers that are coming through, see who's coming up, because those speakers, sometimes the head of the regional office for Microsoft, they could be the head of Klarna. It's one of the things, these people are very influential, can really open up doors for you. And just ask who's part of the overall speaking process and get a face-to-face with them. And these types of accelerator programs, they can really offer that to you, because you just trying to reach out via Twitter or LinkedIn, the likelihood of them responding to you is probably not very high.
No, for sure. Maybe if I can add on something on the mentor side of things. I think one is that a lot of us young entrepreneurs that we don't realize when we're being part of an accelerator is that sometimes, and most of the time actually, the mentors are actually getting paid to be there and actually mentor you, right? So it's their job to actually help you and answer your questions to their best capacity. But sometimes, the founders, we don't utilize that to our advantage and really make sure that this is a person who has a lot more experience, has probably seen a similar startup, so they can really help me if I have the right questions, right? I think that's something that we don't really get. But also, I think on another side is that we see a lot of accelerator programs not being very good at selecting the mentors or matchmaking. So you see that you're being part of a accelerator program. I'm trying to fundraise, and then they match me with someone who has, let's say, who has an accounting experience and not necessarily an investment banking experience, right? So it becomes very much like this person is going to be telling me, hey, structure your financial plan like this. But then when I speak to investors, they're like, oh, that's not relevant to you, or to you as a startup. That's relevant to you as an SME. So there becomes like this huge disconnect between what you actually need. So I think, but also I think it's very hard to identify these challenges, especially if it's your first time being part of an accelerator. Like, you don't know that you're going to face these challenges, right? So most of the time, when it's your second or third accelerator, then you become very much like, hey, like, who's going to be there? Give me a list. Hey, this person. Then you become very good at like vetting either the mentor that they give you or even the accelerator itself, and say, what is the profit that I'm going through this? We see a lot of entrepreneurs just getting there because there's a prize at the end of the day, right? Not necessarily because they care about the learning journey, right? So it's a lot of what YC likes to call them rookie mistakes that you have to go through as an early stage and first time founder. But when you get to the second or third, you start understanding the rules of the game.
Yep, very good. No, that's all great stuff. Yussouf, I'm definitely going to come back with a few things during the Q&A section. But now I'm just going to run over to our third and final speaker for today. So our next speaker is Julio. So Julio is Congolese born, but grew up in France. He spent more than 5 years working at top tier consulting firms. And then he wanted to take a big switch and focus his time, energy, and expertise in creating values for startups in Africa. He launched his own advisory called Kapital. He's also a prolific angel investor and part of several investment groups. He's also part of Investisseurs et Partenaires, based in France, where he supports early stage tech companies within their portfolio. And what Julio is going to take us through is how to actually leverage accelerator programs for further on funding. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Julio. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciated what Yussouf just said previously. He was right about many things, and one of the things is that mentors are paid, and that's their job. And so there's two things. If they're good mentors, you gotta take their feedback. You gotta appreciate to get challenged by them. And if for any reason it's not what they said is not appropriated or it's not relevant to you. It's also the occasion to tell the accelerator program that to give a feedback about this entrepreneur, this mentor. Sorry, about my topic. Thanks for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here to share a bit about my I'd say expertise. So yes, I'm an investor. I'm also a consultant. I do invest my own money, but I also manage different funds, always targeting small SMEs or startups, mostly in Eastern and Western Africa. So I have one part in Kenya, Rwanda, and Eastern countries, and the other part in Western countries such as Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, or Mali, for instance. How to leverage an accelerator program for further funding. An accelerator program teaches you how to execute and be product and metrics focused. This is what an accelerator program teaches you. Other programs, it's might teach you about ideation, might teach you about other things, but if you go to an accelerator program, they teach you about being product and metrics focused. And I'm gonna say why a bit later. When you start your fundraising journey, what is important, it's the story. My first experience in a private equity firm in France, the CEO once told me, Julio, it's all about marketing. It's not that true, but I did understand why he said that. It's all about marketing. And also we're gonna go a bit deeper about it later. Whatever the stage you are in, and no matter the stage the investor is looking to fund, an investor is someone ready to put the money he manages to your business for many reasons. And at the end, you expect at least to get the amount invested back. And if you have been thrown in an accelerator program, that probably means that you'd rather speak with professional investors than angel investors, because like I said, an accelerator program is for more mature startups than very, very early stage startups. And in each cases, if you speak with a professional or an angel investor, there's a story you're gonna share and sell. And to leverage on the accelerator program you participated, especially if it was a renowned accelerator program, there's things that they need to see, to understand, and to think about how the program you've been part has resulted on the way you are now. In your story, you always speak about the product, the team, the metrics, the execution, which is related to many of them, and your ability to raise further money. And I'm going to give you 3 examples on how to leverage or not on an accelerated program for further funding. The first one, it was a few weeks ago with an East African startups that went to South Korea for a fintech program. When they pitched me, they spoke about what they learned in South Korea in that program, the relationship they created with the Korean leader, which is also one of the Asian leaders in the area, what they've done since they integrated that program. And to me, it was a perfect pitch because it was easy to have an idea of their product and the key success factors of their product. It was also, they also spoke about the team, the metrics, and the execution, but it was easy for me to say, okay, in South Korea or in Asia, there is this kind of actors. Here are the problems that we find there. And this is what has been done by the leader. And this company here it was in Kenya, has done that. And through that Accelerator program, they created partnership, they created Intel partnership, and they even have it might even be a potential sellout to me if I do invest in that company, because the relationship they have with this Asian leader might be interesting because Asian company, they want to come more and more in Africa, especially in East Africa, to buy some ventures, to create their own companies, and they have launched even investment firms. And it was a great pitch because I was able to understand what they've learned in that program. And so it was very relevant for them to speak about this program. The second example is about a West African startup that didn't go through the final stage of Y Combinator. They didn't mention it in the pitch deck, of course, but I knew that because as an investor, you create relationship, and so you try at least to know the startups you're interested in, and so I knew that they were supposed to be in the semifinals stage of Y Combinator, YC, but they didn't go through. And they came after me. We spoke about the reason YC gave them, so why they didn't go through. And it gives me, because I was also waiting to see, okay, to be honest with you, I was waiting to see, okay, if YC go take them in their final batch, okay, we will probably put a few money in it and see what's gonna be afterwards. And we spoke about that, and why they were able to leverage on that program, even if they didn't go through. It was because they were understanding their lacks, and so we knew that they had to work on it, and it was easy for me to see if they were able to execute. This is what we need to do. Let's meet in one month, 2 months. This is what we have done. And if it didn't work, here's the reason why it didn't work. And this company raised $500,000 USD in December. And the discussion I had with them, it was in November 2020. and they raised $500,000 in December 2021. Why? Because they knew the reason they didn't go through and they worked on it. And the last example, there's some startups, thankfully not the majority of them, in Africa that go from program to other program to another program to another program. And it is almost impossible for them to leverage on the accelerator program they participate in. Why? I understand that if you don't do enough money and you see that there's a program where you can grab money with any actor, okay, I understand why you go for it. But if you want to raise money from an investor and you decide that you see that you have some needs, there's some topics you need to improve, and you decide that if you participate in an accelerator program, you'll have the weapon to work on it, you gotta work on it. Otherwise, it's only gonna be another program. And when you go to see an investor, you will not have the full story because you've only worked on few pages of that story. You can't do an accelerator program and don't work on your metrics. Wow, congrats, you have a better product. Yes, there's many startups with great products. But if your product never get its product market fit, it's not going to be a success. It's only going to be a project. And like I said, when I started, an investor, even more if it's a professional investor, if he puts his money into your business, you want to at least get the amount invested back. And if you go from accelerator program to accelerator program and without creating any value and without being able to show that there's value created thanks to that program, you will have difficulties to raise any money. For me, an accelerator program, it's a chance to have the best conditions because you have a mentor. Sometimes you have funds. You have the ability to speak with other funders. And like someone said, at the end, there's demo day. You have many reasons to work on your full story, product, team, metrics, partnerships, execution. And if you do so, you have managed to leverage on this accelerator program to get all the chances to get interest from investors. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that, Julio. It's great to get the insight from the investment perspective. And there's a couple of things that just sort of resonated that you talked about, Julio. It's basically don't hop around from accelerator program to accelerator program. It's one of the things where you need to focus on building your business, and you need to make sure you evaluate accordingly to see if this accelerator program or entrepreneurial support program will be worthwhile. Also, something that stood out for me was how some investors use accelerator programs as a form of deal flow. You're talking about your experience with a company that sort of made it almost to the final rounds of being part of Y Combinator, which is fantastic. But it's one of the things, it's a way that we can, it's almost a sort of validation for the startups if they get in or come close to coming to these programs for investors. It's just one of the things, they're close to getting over the hill in order to be securing that investment. So that's really important. So hopefully the audience takes that through home today. And then something else that you noted is coming into these programs, what the investor wants is they want to make sure they get their money back at the very least. And it's something that we're just going into, not all capital is free. There's a cost to absolutely everything. And if you do get money, whether it's coming from the investor or it's coming through from the Accelerator program, which of course some do put direct investments into, we expect very much at the very least to get our money back. We do expect returns, but at the very, very least, and just want to let you know, there's no such thing as free capital, and we do expect things in return from the funder perspective. So there's a few things that really stood out for me, and hopefully there was a lot more that stood out for our audience today. So now I just want to move into the final section of today, and that's where we want to have more audience participation. So I just want to bring up Julio, Yussouf, and Brian back to the stage. And we just want to take, do you guys in the audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, or please unmute yourself. And I'm happy to take your questions that you may have in regards to anything we discussed about, or if there are other things that you want to bring up that relates to today's topic, please do so. So I see Jackson from UKC raised his hand. So Jackson, if you just want to unmute yourself, or if Melissa, if you can unmute Jackson, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for the speakers because of the immense contributions regarding to the accelerator programs that business need to strategize in order to appease the investors and ensure that impact is realized in the investment process. However, I would like to acknowledge some factors that have been raised by the speakers. Let me start with bag innovation. Yussouf mentioned of skills, mentioned of mentorship, and intensive training. This is very important and very relevant at the early stage of team building. And I come to agree with him that identifying the mentor and conducting intensive training is critical. However, many of the investors look at competency, and this is rated on their academic performance or their academic levels. Unfortunately, with the high institutions, some of them even don't get intensive hand-on skills trainings. It's much of theory, and you find that when they even get the job, they have to be retrained. This takes time, and it doesn't also reflect on the quicker performance of these startups at this accelerated stage or the introductory phases of many businesses, especially on startups. So it's a keynote to note that training and mentorship is very relevant, but it might take longer than expected, especially on startups. Another unfortunate thing is how to retain these staff after they've been trained, because some of them might be attracted by others based on the salaries or other privileges that might come along. So I would like to get from the speakers, how do we manage to retain the team that we have already skills and knowledge, but because of other opportunities elsewhere, they end up or they tend to going away. And then Brian, I think he was the first speaker, also mentioned something related to ongoing follow-ups after the acceleration program. This is also very relevant to many investors who want to invest in businesses, but they give prior trainings or workshops to develop some skills and positioning of the business. And you've mentioned that I think it's Andrew who mentioned that it's better to put people in in alumni groups, if not Brian. These alumni groups, sometimes, if I can give out of our experience, one of the NGOs which gave us mentorship skills in our business, and then we ended up in an alumni group, and the group seems to be called. So it seems the interest was at the beginning giving some skills, but afterwards it's as if we are left. So proceeding after those trainings is very important because it's able to know the performance and the outrageous deliverances or impact the business is going to have at long last. So maybe for the case of other startups, it's relevant to engage with the investors or even the team that you have been undergoing the same training to ensure that you don't lose anyone along the way or after. Those are my reservations. Thank you for this important platform.
Thank you, Jackson, for your comments. And I know a few of those comments were directed towards Yussouf and Brian's part of the presentation. So first, Yussouf, any comments do you have to add what Jackson just put forward?
Sorry, I think I kind of lost the question there from Jackson. Andrew, did you catch it?
It's one of the things to talk about the importance of mentoring. It's one of the things that is how important is that sometimes you necessarily don't have a good fit with your mentor, but how do you, there was that sort of observation that was brought out of it, and making sure you ask questions, making sure, and how do you balance your time commitment to the overall program itself. So a little bit about what you touched upon also overlaps a bit with Brian. So if you have any comments, feel free, or if Brian, you feel free to jump in too.
Andrew, I think I also mentioned about retention of the team or the mentored team. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can talk a little bit about that. I think it definitely goes back to the role of the facilitators of the incubators or the accelerator programs to give kind of like guidance in terms of what do the how do the startups get the most out of their mentorship kind of marriage. I think we've seen a lot of accelerators actually provide kind of like a template of how like key guiding questions to ask, or like how long it should take, just to really break that ice, because sometimes the startups might not know how to approach that kind of relationship. And also, I think I've seen a lot of problems where startups actually complain that, what if I tell them all my secrets? Are they going to steal my idea because they're my mentor? And I think, it goes back to the facilitators of the accelerator to really say that, hey, all of our mentors have signed, contracts that really, so that kind of situation will not happen, but also at the same time, giving them kind of like templates or like a format of what kind of questions to ask and all those things. So yeah, I think those are really my comments on how to make sure that the relationship between a mentor and a mentee in an accelerator point of view.
Oh, that's great feedback, Yussouf. And that's something else just to add is, for the entrepreneurs in the audience today, is also ask the facilitators, how do you actually choose and vet your mentors in the actual program? Do they just sort of sign up, they get on board, and they join the next day? What's the criteria for that too? Because we want to make sure that the mentors are not just some people that have professional experience, but it's something that they're aligning with the vision of the organization, but are really sort of dedicated to the work that you do. And then that goes along what Yussouf mentioned. It's one of the things then that trust and that confidence from at least the facilitator side, entrepreneur support side, is going to be there. And hopefully that will then permeate over into the entrepreneurs as well. I think it's also important to note is that sort of ideas at the end of the day are cheap. It's implementation, which is actually expensive. So it's one of the things where a mentor can only help as much as you're willing to give yourself and as much information you're able to provide. Because at the end of the day, if you're providing limited information, a mentor can't can't fully distill the entire business and really sort of maximize the amount as much support as they possibly could. So that's just adding on to what Yussouf added. And I was just made aware by our colleagues, unfortunately, Brian had to drop off there. So if you do have any direct questions for Brian, don't hesitate to contact us after the webinar, and we can sort of put you directly in touch with Brian. Or if you think Julio, Yussouf, or myself could answer those questions, we'll be happy to take those questions too. Thank you, Jackson, for your observations and your questions. Just want to open to the floor again. Does anybody else have anything they want to add into today's conversation? If they do, feel free to put in the chat or unmute yourself and ask the question to our panelists. All right, so I think I have a question that came in from the audience here with it. Yussouf, I know with Bag Innovation, you've got quite a storied history working with accelerator programs. And we've focused a little bit on sort of being taken from a more critical eye, but turning it around, like what are some, if you give some real concrete examples of like, how have you been able to really take Bag Innovation from, I guess, step 1 to step 2, leveraging accelerator programs?
Sure. I think concrete examples. Maybe I can give example of the Sustek.
Go ahead, Moyer. Have at it.
One of the first ones that we actually won, which was a big surprise for us because I think really when you are building, at least in our case, when we're building our company and you get super passionate, then you have this idea that this is what I'm going to do. This is the right way to do it. There's nobody else doing it. This is the right way, and this is the right way to actually talk about it. So what happened when we came into the Sustek, program was that we were assigned 2 different kind of like coaches, and every time we tried to pitch what we're trying to do, they're like, "We don't get it. Like, what is it exactly? Like, what is it exactly that you guys are trying to do?" Every time we tried to do that. So we just, both sides started getting angry. So we started getting angry that you don't listen to us, or they're like, okay, you guys, are not really doing an effort to try to explain what you're doing. So if I was to give a concrete example, that was one of them, right? And through some of the workshops, we're actually able to dissect this, the way that we're pitching our company into various different ways, because now we're pitching to somebody who has never been in the ed tech space before, because we are into education technology. They don't know anything about that sector. They don't know any of the challenges. One of them was actually from Belgium. So they didn't really understand the problem with youth unemployment in Africa. So then we realized, okay, so how do we actually pitch our idea to somebody who doesn't have prior knowledge on the sector, who doesn't have knowledge on the challenge that the African continent is facing? How do we still make it relevant and make it understandable for them? Because they might potentially, these are some of the investors that we're going to be meeting in the future, right? Some of them are like, I'm interested in the business model. Maybe I don't know exactly about them. So I think if I was to give a concrete example of something that has really helped us in the early days for early stage startups, and like you haven't really got really far, I think one important aspect of your business, and I think Julio touched on it when he started his story about about when they say that it's all about marketing. In the early days of your startup, it's really about storytelling. It's about how well you're able to tell me that this is a problem. If it doesn't get solved now, there's something that's going to be wrong in the world, or something is not going to go well. And so that's why we are relevant. And the way we're going to do it is this way, right? And I feel like it's something that a lot of us, we're not taught how to actually be very good storytellers. And it's a very big problem, because you're going to need storytelling skills throughout your entire startup journey, to convince customers. Customers, buying is not a rational decision, it's an emotional decision, right? Your investors, as much as they're going to care about all the small details of the due diligence, but at the same time, it's about how did you capture me in like my emotions and actually make me have the sense of urgency to invest in you. And so storytelling was number one. We realized that we were really bad with storytelling and we had to improve it. We're using technical words, jargons, like just trying to make it sound cool. But, we realized the key was actually make it sound simple, right? This is a software that helps you buy a banana, like that simple, so I would say that storytelling was something we quickly realized. And something that ever since we've been working on really making sure that we can simplify our story so we can capture, like the attention of the audience that we're pitching to. So I would say that's a bit of a concrete, story on my experience with startups and as startup incubators and accelerators as well.
Thank you for that, Yussouf. Storytelling, 100% agree with you. Terribly important. And I also, there's definitely key learning in there as well, because not just focusing on your overall experience, but as you said, the mentors, the coaches that you had, they were pushing you, but they did not understand the landscape, whether it's from the educational, the sector, or they didn't understand the country context. So it's one of the things where the accelerator struggled there as well. So it's basically a two-part process of entrepreneurs struggling, how do we tell the story? And then from the facilitator side, hopefully them realizing like, no, I'm not getting the right mentor matchups there as well. And then just for transparency purposes, so I do run the Rwanda program. I took over it in 2020. So it's one of the things that 100% aware that there's improvements that need to be made from that. Yeah, and we're trying to work on that. So no, that's all great feedback, and it takes two to tango. So thanks for pointing that out, Yussouf. And then Julio, I just want to bring you up to the podium as well, because we recently just had a question coming in from Segun. So his question was, as a social entrepreneur, we know getting funding is not easy. Can it be advised to focus on the business side of the innovation against wasting time to source donors/funders? So Julio, that's a question directed to you. If you need a bit more clarity, maybe it'd be good for Segun to unmute himself as well if possible and to provide a little bit more clarification to that question. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. There's what I always say, there's money. There's money, there's different streams, there's different channels to get that money, and donors and grants, it's one of them. GFIs is one of them. Banks is one of them. Venture capitalist is one of them. If you're a social entrepreneur, you can either run after grants or donors, or even some GFIs, or you can also run after VCs, but you have to think about what's your goal, because for VCs, even if it's a social enterprise, their goal is that you become huge in the next years. For donors, their goal is that you create an impact, even if in 5 years your impact will be in the same city or in the same region or whatever. So the first question should be about you, and once you have the answer, you have to think about your storytelling. But it's not easier to go get money from GFIs, or it's not easier to go get money from VCs, or to get money from donors. there's money, but there's also plenty of startups, of social entrepreneurs, of SMEs that don't get access to money, and they also need it. And you have to be you have to sell the best story depending on what your target wanna hear and wanna see, I think.
Thank you, Julio, for that. And hopefully, Siguna, that answers your question. So with that being said, we're just going to wrap up today. So I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists, Brian, Yussouf, Julio. Your insight was fantastic. We appreciate your candid responses for that. So people who are in attendance today, feel free to follow up with us after the webinar. You will get a recording of today's webinar. They'll be sent either later today, if not tomorrow. For that, and don't hesitate to connect with myself or any of our other colleagues today on LinkedIn as well. We'd be happy to hear from you. We're always looking to get more insight, develop partnerships, build deal flow, and get companies coming into our programs as well if we do offer one itself. So I just want to say on behalf of Stepchange and our dear partner, Bridges for Enterprise, thank you for attending today's webinar, and all the best as you look to find an accelerator program that can help take your business to the next level. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.